We got crossed up from Valdez. I'm good.
Oh, for those who don't know, sorry, anyone who's there giving a watch. I'm Jake, and this is Jason, and we are here just to talk crap about baseball, probably for the next 30 minutes or so. If you have any questions, give us fire them in. I don't know where we see them, but Brock will let us know where they are. For those who don't know, he chimes in with a 3-2-1, and it makes me feel like he's got a little medallion being like, and you're under, can make us do whatever he wants. But obviously, nice week of Brewers baseball. We're wondering currently if Craig Yoho is ever going to pitch for the Brewers again at this point, because I don't know what he's done with members of Pat Murphy's family, but it seems something pretty heinous has happened in that regard. But yeah, Jason, how are you doing, big man? Nice to see you again.
I'm doing good, dude. I'm doing good. Can't complain. Brewers stay cooking. Things are going pretty well. My guy Jake Bauers is back to being who Jake Bauers is. Andrew Vaughn had a great game today. So who knows? Maybe those two players back in business. But yeah, I'm excited. I feel like maybe it's foolish to get this confident this early, but just a couple of weeks left. I think the Brewers are in really good shape for the postseason. I'm curious to see if they can carry over the regular season success into October, something they haven't necessarily done very much of in the past decade or so. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Hopefully, we'll see.
I mean, that's a pretty relevant point. So when we're looking at it, so usually when someone's being promoted back to the big league club, they don't play like that day or the day before for the AAA. So Rhys Hoskins, not in the lineup today for Nashville. His sort of rehab stint ends on Tuesday. So realistically, rather than make it a day later, it seems like he's maybe going to be activated tomorrow for the Rangers series, which presents a ton of options for the Brewers if they just want to basically field an entire lineup of DH, or like how they're going to go about this. So like, Jason, like how are they going to fit Rhys in when you've got Rake Bowers, as you said, sitting there? And Andrew Vaughn King Vaughn, he got his own shirt. I haven't seen any shirts for Rhys Hoskins yet. That just tells me where the club's thinking right now, or convince me if I'm wrong.
Instead of getting a shirt, Rhys Hoskins just gets paid the highest amount on the team. So I'm sure he's, okay with that trade-off. But I think it's like suffering from success in the sense that, a while ago we were asking like who is going to be the guy at first base moving forward? Is it a position they need to fill at the deadline? Is Hoskins going to pick it back up after, coming back from the IL? Andrew Vaughn and Jake Bauers, like, is their success smoke and mirrors, or is it something that's sustainable? Matt Trueblood wrote about some like actual mechanical adjustments that Andrew Vaughn is making, but then he hit a cold streak, so like all up in the air. The way that I see it is like if you got three guys that can play really solid first base and they can hit pretty well and they kind of complement each other's weaknesses, why not? You got more options. I feel like to me is better than fewer. So I think it's going to be less of a this is our guy and more of these are our guys, like plural. That's kind of how the Brewers been rocking, right? Like they're very much like a, we've had Yelich out, Sal was out today, still dropped, 10 runs, easy work on the Pirates. So whoever's playing, man, I don't know what it is about Milwaukee, but they're cooking in that kitchen. So it's not something that I'm super worried about. I'm just kind of curious who's going to get the lion's share and in what situations at first base.
Yeah, I mean, Rhys Hoskins actually hit the ground running as well, which is quite nice because, like, I'm convinced the dude just has, like, the stamina of a donkey because, like, he comes out firing the start of both years, basically carry the offense early, and then a little bit of tiredness, and all of a sudden, boom, off a cliff. But he's now had, like, a month and a half to recuperate. So you're like, right, if we can get a month and a half of prime Rhys Hoskins again, and in amongst Brice Turang now working out that homers are really fun, like, that sounds great. But, like, Andrew Vaughn, you look at him, and in some ways he looks like a complete hitter. Like, he's probably never going to hit, like, 40 dingers. But even if you look back at his career, like, the dude just seems to hit line drive after line drive. His college career, he walked twice as much as he struck out. He wasn't clearing the fences at a ridiculous rate, but maybe 20 homer seasons. And it just seemed like he had like 1,100 OPS because he was hitting, and he was hitting doubles basically. But then you got Jake Bauers off the bench, who is that lefty bat is just fun. Like, it's so good for a matchups team when actually your weak bats are often the right-handers that you're looking at. They're unlikely to take out a Sal Frelick or they're not going to take out Christian Yelich, and they're not going to take out Brice Turang at this point. But a Joey Ortiz pinch hit, I could see that happening. And it could be a left-hander. It could just be turned around and being like, Joey, mate, not fully trusting you here, lad. It's seventh inning. I'm still putting Reese in there. And you just have that slug off the bench that kind of worries teams a wee bit. Which, when you're getting on base this much, if you have some dude that's just going to be like, yeah, one swing, bye-bye, I'll go sit down, get the cooler on, pretend I've done, a real mountain of work today. Absolutely brilliant. But, like, to have those options off the bench is something I think they've actually missed. Remember, like, was it last year or the year before when it was, like, the Jesse Winker was coming off the bench to pinch hit? And he was getting booed by his own fans.
I mean, Jesse Winker was, I'm a big Jesse Winker fan just because when he was in Seattle in 2022.
Listen, be careful, you are a Brewers fan, so I'm not sure that's legally permissible.
No, but
hey, I think something's wrong here, guys. I think it's not actually connected to the stream, but let me try and figure this out.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Hold on.
Yeah, keep talking.
Okay.
Take that image away, Brock. Sorry, I might have some technical difficulties at the moment. Also, my dog thinks that I'm speaking to her, which is delightful. Craig Yoho got to pitch. This is beautiful. I'm excited. He has a new slider. I am buzzing for this. I actually think he could be a potential, like, if he can command that slider, I think he could be an actual, not a weapon in the postseason. I mean, I think he could be, but it's whether they would trust him in the situations where you can actually do damage. But if he can command that, the way his arsenal works, I think he could be really effective, actually, especially with, like, what are all these injuries about? What are they doing to these dudes? What are they doing to them, Jason? Like, how do you blow up this many arms? It's like as soon as they come to the Brewers, if there's a sniff of an injury in their history, the elbow just says, this organization, pop, gone.
I do think it's funny that the Brewers, I don't even know where I went. Hopefully I'm still talking.
You are. You're good.
I do think it's funny that the Brewers kind of chews up and spits out a lot of players. Like, maybe that's not good for the players. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what crazy pitching program they're going through. And realistically, I think a lot of it is like these guys are, the Brewers want guys that have special stuff. They're not going to pick up the guys that are like more durable but are throwing low 90s. And so I think part of it is
they did pick up Jose Quintana, Jason, who is
dude, but Jose Quintana, I feel like that was like an emergency. Like, oh god,
yeah, fair.
We're like 3 weeks into spring training and we need some Colombian guy. Just give us a 36-year-old. But yeah, I mean, pitching injuries, it's just kind of like a league-wide thing, right? Like the Dodgers are dealing with it. A lot of clubs are having to suffer through that, and I think that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles these days. When it comes to Craig Yoho, dude, I think his minor league numbers are like so disgusting. Like, so I wonder if his performance in the majors is like partly due to a small sample, and then also just because like adjusting to the big leagues, it's a totally different ball game than even AAA. So like next year, like I'm really curious to see what his role is going to be with the team next year, if he gets like more playing time, and like you said, even in the postseason, like maybe he is like a wild card difference maker, and maybe he just doesn't ever pitch. So we'll see. Anything could happen with him.
So it's funny, like you mentioned his numbers. So he has a 1.04 ERA in 43 innings, 55 strikeouts, and a whip of just 1, basically. But he's actually given up more over his last fit. He has like a whip of 2.04 over his last 15 games, a 7.5 ERA. And look, I don't mind this because the dude just needs to work on the process, not the results, basically, because when he locks in, the results are there at that level. So that's not a bad thing at all. And he's clearly working on this slider to try and say, well, he couldn't put the sweeper in the zone at all. Like, that thing just moved like an absolute banana. It's like David Beckham in his prime. If you get that reference, I'll be super impressed, guys.
But what do you mean?
Oh, David Beckham came and played in this.
Bend it like Beckham, baby. What you mean? Hey, that's an LA Galaxy legend right there.
Yeah.
I don't know what other teams he played for, but
he was. Yeah, he actually didn't play for any other teams. He entirely
just the LA Galaxy, baby.
Playing for LA Galaxy, Jason. never played for anyone else.
Exactly.
But like, I feel like that's how the sweeper moved, and it was too much, and he just couldn't land it in the zone. So this shorter slider, it should be a little more compact. It should be like later breaking as well, which means you're not going to see, that's a sweeper within like an inch of it leaving his hand. So pretty excited about that, seeing how it sort of works. Nice outing today. And like the reason I love the dude is because like two things you want in a reliever is someone who doesn't give up homers and can strike guys out. So he strikes out like a lot of guys. But on top of that, his ground ball rate is exorbitant just because that changeup just drops off a table. The sinker drops off a table. And like, you just can't get under anything he throws. So it's just all on the ground. And like, even if he does walk a hitter, you're just like, yeah, okay, grounder, Brice Turang, boom, gone. Erased. Right. Which is kind of cool. Yeah. But like, also, UL Payamps, absolute stud playing today. That's got to be a lock for the postseason roster, right? Or how long do you think he's going to be lasting, Jace?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, even he got put in the game today. I went to go to the bathroom. I came on. There were like two guys on. I was like, dude, what happened? Like, but that's like the Payamps experience. I feel like, he makes games interesting. He's one of those guys that like performs better under pressure. So that's why he walks 6 guys in a row. I don't know. But, ultimately, like, we're in the final stretches of the regular season. I don't think we need to be throwing out our A team every single day, every single week, especially against the Pittsburgh Pirates, highly competitive baseball club. But I would be surprised if he does anything super high leverage. Like, I don't know, man. I love Payamps. He's got a great face. He's got a great headshot on Baseball Reference. But we talk about trust and how important that is to the way that Pat Murphy manages things. Like, I don't see him coming in to save the game in a pivotal elimination situation.
Do you think Grant Anderson coming back, he's probably the DFA candidate? Or do you think Grant Anderson even comes back? Like, are you a fan, Jason?
Dude, I'm an Anderson fan. So I know he's rehabbing right now, right? I think he just started his assignment. I think he's a kooky guy. I think he's like a weird like sidearm angle he's throwing.
Yeah.
Like, he added a sweeper. Terrible with Texas last year, but I think he's taken a very meaningful step forward over the course of like the entire season. I know like some people are not big fans of Grant Anderson. I can like kind of understand why. Again, with the bullpen, dude, like we have so many great arms in that bullpen, and we have guys. I think the priority is almost like length, right? Especially with like the Freddy pickup. So I would like to see him back. I think he adds a lot of value, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make the cut.
Yeah, so I think the big thing was he actually hadn't gone sidearm until like a couple of years ago, and maybe it was coming out of college. Either way, it's not like he's pitched like this all his life. I remember he had an article in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, that other place, and Kurt Hogue was sort of chatting about it, but it's relatively new to him. Not new, but it's such a weird sort of angle to throw from. It takes a lot of getting used to. There's inconsistencies there. But like when you look, and I'm a geek, Jason. Like I'm a full-on nerd. You should hear people asking me like, "What do you like about baseball over here?" Because nobody likes baseball in Northern Ireland, bar me. I'm like, if you looked at a map of people watching Milwaukee Brewers games, you see like one single
like
solitary
in
Northern Ireland. But people, and I go into things and I watch their eyes glaze over because they don't know baseball. Never mind, they know the things I'm talking about. But like I look at sort of the stuff plus and what's going on behind it, and the dude's forcing when he keeps that up on the zone, he gets way more carry on that than he should from that arm angle, and the sweeper is dirty. So look, if he can stay away from the middle, if he can just keep that four seamer up, it's borderline unhittable. If it drops down, it actually becomes very hittable. Right. So that's sort of the duality basically of Grant Anderson for me, but I think he's a phenomenal arm to have like for a fifth or sixth inning. Like the back end of your bullpen is like the shutdown guy. So he's the front end, right? Is that the right word? Yeah.
Like the setup guy or whatnot.
He's a setup for the setup for the setup for the setup guy.
He's like the first guy out of the bullpen.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. Nick Mears be damned. But like the dude. You look at it and he's got a sub-3 ERA, and we're turning around. It's almost like we are completely conditioned as Brewers fans. If someone gives up a single run out of the pen, we like freak out. We're like, that guy's crap. Oh, how could you do this? And then you turn in and you watch like a Nationals game and you're like, You see them playing in Nationals, you're like, oh, every reliever's giving up like 3 runs each. You're like, huh, are they crap or are we just really, really good? And you sort of work out how blessed you are in that sense.
Right. And that's with relievers, right? Because you're only pitching an inning at a time. It's a lot of it's like feast or famine. Like you're either shutting it down and then going back, or you're like you have one rough inning where you're giving up 2-3 earned that inflates your ERA because you have a small sample already, and then you're working the rest of the season to get it back down. But fans will either only remember that one game, or they'll look and be like, oh, one outing he had at the beginning of the season, he gave up 5 earned in one inning, or maybe only got one out, and the surface level ERA is like, oh, he's got like a high 3, low 4 ERA, like he sucks out of the bullpen, get him out. But it's like, with relievers, you kind of have to look at a lot of their stats a little bit more in depth because of how their workload differs from starters. And I think with Grant Anderson, something I wanted to ask you about is like, what is responsible for that fastball rise? Is it like a spin rate thing? Is it like a release point thing? Like, what is it about the intrinsic pitch metrics on that fastball that allow him to be successful when it's up in the zone and get more rise than maybe other sidearm pitchers?
There's a lot of things that can come into it. But for me, like spin is still probably the dominant factor. And the weird thing is, you get backspin. I'm going to grab my dog's tennis ball here. Is like you're literally coming down the back of a ball with your fingers down it. You can almost get that backspin really easily. Okay, so if you're throwing from a high over the top slot, your fingers come straight down the back of the ball, and it's easy. That's why you get lots of, it's called induced vertical break from guys like Nick Mears and Trevor McGill, because they throw from that high arm slot. Right. When your fingers are out here because you're throwing from a really wide slot, it's tough to come straight down the back of it. So usually you get less spin from those arm angles, but because it's from a low height, you almost throw it up a little bit more. So it looks like it's rising more because you're releasing it from a lower height.
Right.
But he gets more backspin than most people would from that arm angle. It doesn't look great compared to the other arm slots, but in isolation, when you consider how he's throwing it, it's elite. So that would be probably one of the main factors for his fastball being the way it does. Anything I just said may be complete and utter crap, and disregard or regard at your own peril, guys.
I mean, dude, ultimately, I was thinking about this, talking to somebody. I was like, unless you're in the organization working with the team and you got the iPad in the dugout and you're looking at everything, everything that we talk about is ultimately like just guessing. We're like, okay, like based on this, like I can kind of think. Like I was writing about Brice Turang and his offensive breakout, and dude, this guy, 10 home runs in August, which was more than like, what?
Aaron Judge.
Yeah, right.
More than Aaron Judge, bro.
Dude, and the thing is, these aren't cheap shots. These aren't 350 to some short porch, right? These are like 402-foot shots, right? And I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like he's getting his A swing off more often. He's just more confident. He's drinking more milk. He's, on something, some gamer supplements. I don't know. Ultimately, like it could be something simple. Maybe he's using a different bat. Maybe he has been lifting more, lifting less, yoga. Like,
has anyone else, Jason, ever drunk more milk and somehow gotten stronger at the same time? Just any names come to mind there?
Mark McGwire, dude. We talk about one of the great American one of the guys who played the game the right way. No controversy at all. Dude, have you seen that clip? This is such a side tangent.
No, I definitely would not have seen this, and I'm already saying that.
All-Star game where Mark McGwire runs up to Barry Bonds when Barry was still in Pittsburgh, and he like picks him up and throws him around. And everyone was like, this is the moment that Barry knew what he had to do to never allow that to happen again.
So he didn't do it for baseball. He's just like, that man has never touched me.
It was like the home runs, that was like gravy on top. The 73 gravy, bro. But not being able to be picked up by Mark McGwire and handled like a little boy. It's probably the main driver behind that. But
I'd feel comforted by Mark McGwire picking me up and handling me like a little boy. It'd be lovely.
I don't know, man. Some of these ball players are big guys. I mean, Mark McGwire seems like a pretty nice dude, all things considered.
Anyway, sorry, you were telling me how awesome Brice Turang is before we get into the tangent of who is the most beautiful body in Brewers history.
Brice Turang also had a great game today at the plate. This is a guy who everybody describes as like a glove first, swings a wiffle ball bat or whatever the heck. Like it was like a 61 OPS plus. I think he was literally the worst qualified hitter his rookie year. Last year, he had like a decent first half, right? He was about league average, and then he had a pretty bad second half, and then it was like an 80 OPS plus. Won the Platinum Glove. It was like, yeah, this guy is like, he's like a middle infielder. Doesn't really hit the ball very hard. Doesn't hit it that often, but he's going to play great defense, and he's going to do what he needs to do. This year, he's still playing great defense. It's not as dominant as it was last year, but he's still a plus defender by defensive runs saved. But he's got a 125 OPS plus and is worth almost like 6 WAR. One of the most like valuable players in baseball, period.
Yeah.
And in the National League. And it's funny, like you go through the National League guys who are leading by like, Baseball Reference WAR, and it's the names that you hear all the time, like Pete Crow Armstrong, Shohei Ohtani. And there's like this random Brice Turang guy, and I'm like, dude, some people got to be wondering who this kid is, and I wonder what it's going to take for him to get his shine, and I wonder how he's going to do on the MVP ballots this year. But I think Turang is like the sneaky, maybe not sneaky if you're a Brewers fan and have actually been watching the team, especially over the past month. I think Turang is like a sneaky down ballot MVP candidate, dude. Like he just does everything so well. He still like stole more than 20 bags already this year as well. So like you want to talk about one of the guys that's one of the best and plays the game the right way for real, it's Brice Turang.
Yeah. I mean, funny, I was listening to a podcast, one of the big, more national ones. I'll not mention their name. I'll not drop that in them. But they were talking about, they do like monthly, who's the best player this year, blah, blah, blah. And one of the guys came on and said, Brice Turang, yeah, I mean, he's solid defensively, but dude needs to just cut that strikeout rate, and he's just making contact. And this was after August, and I'm like, tell me you haven't literally seen anything to do with this guy in the last month without telling me. And I'm like, there you go, But that's just going to be the way. It's smaller market. If Jazz Chisholm was doing this, everybody would give a crap. But it's kind of nice in some ways, these guys go under the radar, and then next year he could just burst onto the scene, win MVP, and that would be lovely by hitting 63 bombs in the year, and we could just all walk home happy. But before we ramble too much, is there any other thoughts on this week of Brewers baseball, Jace?
Dude, Freddy Peralta still dealing. I think he's on like a scoreless inning streak, right? Like some crazy.
I think it's 29 now.
Yeah, what? What? Yeah, crazy stuff. Yeah, for real. So I hope it lasts. I hope he, with Freddy Peralta over the past few years that I've been covering the Brewers, he'll have some great outings, and then he'll have some putrid ones. So I don't want to be the guy that's like, this regression is coming, like the crazy guy, the naked guy outside the Walmart holding up the sign. I guess for you the Asda, like the end is nigh. I hope he keeps this up, man. I know Freddy Peralta has had his ups and downs as a Brewer over the past few years, but dude, he is looking nice.
Tasty. Yeah. And then you back that up with what Miz has done today of like just little shaky early on, right? Find some rhythm. And I mean, the boy has the face of an 11-year-old, but like, damn, can he throw the ball? Like, it was the way he used that fastball. He started hitting up a bit more, and then he used that curveball more.
That curveball, dude, was kind of cooking today, dude.
That curveball was legit. Yeah. And like, there were kind of two shapes. One was more sweepery, one was more depth, but I don't know whether he controlled that or just happens out of the hand. But look, the way he was throwing that later in counts and sort of he edged away from the slider a little bit, I was all for that. Like, you have two unhittable pitches. Why give them a chance with one you could hit just a little bit? Right. But like, dude, give me more of that and inject it straight into my veins. Give me the Miz dust.
What are your thoughts on them stretching him out today, like getting his pitch count up? I think he went 7 innings. I think it was the first time he went 7 innings in his career, right? It's like, what do you think the scheme is for that?
So I think they tried once. I think it was the second game, maybe against the Twins, and they quickly hit. I think it was a walk on a 2-run bomb, and then they took him out. But I really liked it today. So he's had shorter outings in general since coming back from the shin bruise. He struggled a little bit for rhythm. He found that rhythm, and the thing everybody's been leveling at him. And remember, he's a rookie. Like, he's going to see what people are saying. There's probably going to be things going through his head a little bit. Even as much you try to block it out, it's going to be there. People like, this dude can't go deep into games. And actually, when you look at the peripherals, he's actually pitched fairly similarly throughout. The velo's dipped a little bit, but overall, it's actually his whiff rates have been great. The expected results have been the same. So there shouldn't be a reason he gets blown up later in an outing at all. Or maybe there is. But Yeah, no, I think Gillespie can go 7. Like, really builds up a bit of that confidence in him. Like, yeah, I can go deep. I can be a legit starter. I'm not 5 and dive. I'm not Blake Snell. I'm Jacob Misiorowski. Dude, handle it. You know? I mean, what did you think of it, Chase?
I thought it was good. So I was keeping an eye on his velo because I think one of the early starts, I think it might have been unironically his first or second start. He was like blowing 102, and then by the last inning, he was like mid 90s. So it's kind of I've always been curious, like, is it something like he's throwing as hard as he can through each inning, and his max capacity is just dipping, or is it like he's purposefully trying to get a better handle on pacing, right? Like, would you rather sit 97, 98 the whole start, or like fluctuate from 102 all the way down to 94? In his last, I think it was his last at bat, he dialed it up to 100, but was sitting 97, 98. So I think, like, I mean, the kid's got stamina. He seems like he's got a pretty rubber arm. I don't think he's had Tommy John. Yeah, I know. Again, people.
No, he hasn't.
Naked guys outside of Asda saying the end is nigh. Like, I think he's just got a rubber arm. Some people are just built like that, right?
Jason,
I think it was really exciting.
Wood right now. If you're not touching wood, I'm coming to American hunt you down, bud.
Dude, I think that. So I know you put out a piece of like what are the Brewers' perspective on Jacob starting. I guess Jacob Misiorowski's like starting ball games in October. Like, I think that is the plan. I think they're stretching him out to make sure, like, how deep when we face the Mets again for whatever reason, and we're trying not to get, bounced in the first round. Can we trot out this 7'9" freak of nature that's 23 years old, blowing 102 with a 94-mile-an-hour slider out to face, the little kids from Queens? So I'm excited to see, like, where he falls in that postseason rotation and, like, what his first playoff outing is going to look like.
Same. Right. We are getting our marching orders from our Supreme Overlord here because, we've chatted a lot, and apparently some people like this team called the Green Bay Packers. So we will leave it there. And I might even tune in because I now feel like I have to support all Wisconsin sports, even though I know nothing about American football. So peace out, brother.
Peace out, y'all.